we knew that we wasn't going to get everything out within an hour. So with that being said, we knew that you had to book it for about 2 hours just to make sure that you got everything that you needed out. So you all, we're gonna jump right in here, and we're gonna start off with the first question, which is discussing Juneteenth and talking about it. So the first question that we have, I'm gonna let Tevis go on and get us started with these questions. They are in the private chat, or um,
Let's see.
we'll
Let's
let her
see
go
here.
and get us started with these questions.
Okay. Okay. So the first question today, and always, these are our thoughts and our opinions, our beliefs from our own personal stand, not to overpower anybody else's belief or tell anyone that they're wrong or right, but these are our perspectives and our beliefs and our questions. So, again, here as a platform to learn from each other and to share out with the community. So, the first question, if I'm on the right space, in the right space, is we are one. The question is erasing our history and taking us out. So why are they trying not to teach Black history? So that has been a big discussion worldwide, right, for a couple few years now. Just trying to understand why they are taking Black history out of school as if Black history is not a part of history. There would be no history if it wasn't us. Number one. Number two, we are the first settlers here. Okay, not I just lost my thought. What's the man that we was always taught his name in school who
Columbus.
Christopher
yes,
Columbus.
I seen his statue in New York last week. I'm like, they need to take that down. This is false advertisement. But all those stories that we were taught as children, most of them in the schools, weren't the truth or watered down and not truly shared like they should have been, right? So, um, everybody, whoever wants to share, just kind of talk on your perspective on them removing history out of our schools, how you see it, how you feel about it, what you think about it.
Well,
Anybody?
I,
Go
I
ahead.
I
Popcorn.
believe that there is this grand push to erase certain parts of history because nobody wants to go against an establishment from which they benefit from.
Mhm.
When it comes to the Caucasians in this country that want to believe that their racism is no longer or that critical race theory should not be taught to everyone, when it comes to issues like that, it's like, and shout out to the Caucasians, the white people, the people other than Black people that are actually standing up for critical race theory being taught, that are actually acknowledging that racism still exists, that are actually acknowledging that
Mhm.
though we've come far, we could go way further.
Mhm.
So shout out to those people that understand that they do have the complex, like Paul Mooney says, the complexion for the protection for the collection. They realize that they have that and they use their privilege and use the benefits that they receive from being white in order to
Mhm.
advocate for others. So shout out to y'all. But
Mhm.
I truly believe that there is this grand scheme to erase certain parts of history because people don't want to acknowledge that some of their forefathers might have been some of these people that we be
Mhm.
reading about. And
Mhm.
also the establishment that you're benefiting from, you don't necessarily want to go against or don't know how. A lot of it
Mhm.
is they don't know how. Even
Mhm.
the ones that may want to stand up, there's such a pressure to remain silent and there's such a pressure to stay in line that some may want to, but they don't feel like they have the power to do so. So
Mhm.
that's where the power in numbers comes in. But when it comes down to it, if you're benefiting from something, you don't want to rock the boat.
That's right. That's right.
I think
I
one
think
thing. Go ahead.
I think for me, what the problem is, in all honesty, they don't want them. They don't want to see themselves as the racist that their forefathers was. So what they want to do is erase history and erase racism by trying to take our history out of it, which if you're really honest about it and 100% with it, without us there would be no America. A lot of the things that they are looking at and that they enjoy was created by African Americans. They are quick to teach us about slavery. They will teach us about the civil rights movement, and they will teach us about Rosa Parks. But other than that, they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to teach us anything else. They
Mm-hmm.
stop right there. And then you even have the governor now of Florida that is even trying to get all history of African Americans taken out of these schools to make it look like we don't exist. Because the quickest way to kill a people off is to take away their knowledge. They
Mm-hmm.
said, it says in the word, that without knowledge the people shall perish. So the reason why a lot of us are perishing is because of lack of knowledge. We don't know where we came from. We think that we came out of we think that we forget about slavery and all of these other things, and they're quick to show us the few African Americans that have made it. They're quick to tell us about a Tyler Perry, a Jay-Z, a Beyonce, or Oprah Winfrey. But for all four of them, there's about 10 other African Americans that are struggling, trying to make it, while those four have all the money in the world that they can imagine.
Well,
So
you
that's
know
why they're
that.
trying to take our history out.
Yeah, you're right. You can go ahead. Somebody else is going to talk. You can go ahead. I can wait.
You go ahead.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Because I'm writing down my thoughts. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I agree with everything that he said, but also too, I think that the taking away the knowledge is because when you kind of get enraged, you want to do something, right? Do something about it, and I think that's the thing that they don't want us to be empowered in certain ways, right? They don't want us to be empowered. And I think, and again, I think it even goes a little bit further than that. We saying we shouldn't have to worry about them teaching us because there's even if they
That's
put
right.
critical race theory in schools, it's still what they want us to know. So we
Right.
got to go a little bit further and still do our own research and do our own fact checking and not just always be quick to believe what the school is teaching us because it is still something what they want us to know,
That's
right?
right. Mm-hmm.
I visited an African American museum on Memorial Weekend in Georgia, and um, it was a really good experience because they started our history back in Egypt. They didn't start us with slavery. He was like, we have to start seeing ourselves past
That's
slavery
right.
because that's where everybody wants to start. And if you watch the I think it was the Harriet Tubman movie. He was like, oh no, the African Queen King. Um,
Mm-hmm.
she said you can't enslave a people who are already free in the mind, right?
That's
And
right.
so if you're already free, you can enslave my body, but my mind is free. But they found a way to also enslave the mind. And so if you can take the shackles off your mind by doing your own research and not just leaning on what I want to say what the powers that be want us to know, then we have an even better chance of rising up from where we are, because we have to empower ourselves. We can't always wait for somebody to empower us. We have to empower
Mm-hmm.
ourselves because we have the power within ourselves to be empowered.
That's right.
So that's my
That's
thought.
right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, just again, agreeing with everything that you guys said or have been saying, and just to piggyback on James, when you was like, they talk about slavery, Rosa Parks, Dr. King, Malcolm X, right? Those are the people that we hear about growing up in history. If my father wasn't the man that he is or was, I probably would have not known a lot about my Black history, but because of who he is, that was just something that we always grew up knowing. When I was facing racial disparity, like in middle school, I was the voice, right? I was the person that talked. It was so bad that it was a white divide and a black divide, and we had Tevis talking for the black culture, and then someone talking to the white culture. The same thing even happened when I was in high school. But that's because people knew that I knew my history. I'm not saying that I know it to a T, because I'm still learning every day. But at that time, I kind of knew kind of more than some of the others knew, right? So empowering starts from our people, our family, our friends, our ancestors, storytelling, right? All of that plays a part. And Jessica, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, we feel like we started in slavery. Our kids, our people, our generations thinks that's where we started. There's life 19th and 20th century. There's Black Asians that's been around since the 19th and 20th century, right? We think Asians are just what we see them as today, not the mixed race Asians, but there are Black Asians in the world that's been here since the 19th and 20th century. America is Black. Why do you think that they are trying to stop women from having abortions? Not because it's Black women having abortions, because white women are having abortions at a higher rate, which is stopping their culture from continuing on, right? Fear that the race is going to be predominantly Black or of color in the next 50 years, right? Which it could probably be, which whatever, it's fine, right? However, it's so much deeper than just the surface, just what we are seeing. And as we were talking in our chat earlier about when I was reading, and it was saying how the three states with the highest population of Blacks, Texas, Georgia, and Florida, are the three states that are stopping Black history in the schools, stopping the teaching. But then the other states that are teaching it, I'm looking at my notes and I'll find it in a minute. The other states are predominantly white states that have very few Blacks, but they honor the Black history, right? Like Jessica was saying, it's all about where the power is, right? Yes, if we work together, we are a force. That is a fear for them. They know that when we can stand together and conquer and divide, nobody can stand up against us. Those are facts, right? And that's a fear. So what are they doing? They kind of start from the bottom and wiping us out, from the violence, from the drugs, right? Bringing them into our community. Now in our Black history for this new generation of children who could be considered as lost kids because of the lack thereof that they're getting, right? So it is just it's a snowball effect, right? It's a snowball effect. So yeah.
Look at where they place buy here, pay here. Look at where they place cash advance places. They're strategically placed in areas of higher minority because it is meant to keep you in a cycle.
That's right.
And so if you cannot get out of that cycle, then you can't see past what you're in. Mm-hmm. And so I tell you, like it's a whole strategic thing. And that's why, that gentrification happens. They know that property value they don't let people move in. If you go back to like in California, they started letting families move into California, into Compton. I was like, okay, we'll let them move in. Our white folks move out. We'll let them tear it down. And then they'll start gentrifying it again, and then having it drive property values up and have people move out. And so we have to play chess, not checkers. We have to play the long game. And it starts by educating our families about money, about about God, about money, who we are as a people, our power, and everything, so we can get it together. That's why I think a lot of stuff started changing during COVID, because we actually were banding together to create change. And if you notice, a lot of those shows that they had on, like the Black lawyer who came from jail, they canceled those shows. They canceled a lot of the shows who had strong Black figures as heads right after COVID.
Yeah.
Because they were picking up, but again, what image was it showing?
Yeah.
Jessica, you said something powerful. You got to even look at it. What do they have on every corner around our neighborhoods? A lot of the times, they put a liquor store on every corner in the Balak neighborhood, just because they are trying to kill us out.
I think there's a town like in Indiana that has the highest population in Navajo or Indian descendants, and they have liquor stores all over there. And if anybody knows, Native Americans have a high rate of um, uh, becoming addicted to alcohol. It's something in their DNA. I don't know why, but it's a fact. And they have in that area. They talked about. I saw a documentary. That's all you see a lot in the town is a lot of liquor stores. But again, it's meant to keep people stuck.
Yeah.
You know. So okay, I'm done talking.
That is
Yeah.
a great point that you brought up too, and also Jessica, when you were talking about the placement of different things in the communities, I remember I was watching a video where they were talking about the creation of low income housing, and the reason why it's called the projects is because it was literally a project of the government. They did different studies to find that, when they first did these studies with rats, and they put them on top of each other, put them in close quarters, which is what the projects are, everybody in close quarters, and they found that they did two things. They fought and they procreated. They fought and they procreated. The more they fought, the more they procreated. The more they procreated, the more they fought. And that's what's happening to people. I for one, I lived in the projects the majority of my life, either the projects or in Section 8 housing, which is like a graduated version of the projects, because the housing is set up that way where you can only go in certain neighborhoods, and there's discrimination even in instances where it's supposed to be a gateway to get out.
Yeah.
And this is why a lot of people don't get out. A lot of people
It's
don't
not a
take those
gateway.
opportunities.
They trying to keep you held back.
Exactly. What is seen as a gateway, because some people just see it as, oh, we're just going to do this and this is what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. It's not intended to be somewhere where you stay, but they know that certain people's minds don't go beyond what they can see. That's why representation is so important. That's why it's important to teach these things in the home, because they're not being taught. Why would they? We have to ask that question. Why would they? We're mad that they don't, but why would they? Because it would only benefit them for us to remain uneducated and unknowledgeable about the things that are going on, the things that have gone on and the things that are going on. The only way for things to change is for us to come together and change the narrative, for us to come together and teach our children, for us to come together and decide that we're not going to be crabs in a barrel. That is only benefiting the agenda of the oppressor. And the oppressor only has power when we give it to them. With education, with knowledge, all of those things come together. That's how we're able to move past these things. But we have to know where it started.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the one thing that we continue to point out is that this big emergence of critical race theory is coming to us because we have started to understand who we are as Black people. And whenever a disempowered race or religion starts understanding who they are, and the white people or people of a different color start becoming the minority, like it's happening right now, because no longer are Black and brown people considered minorities because there are so many of us, and because we're seeing, like I think I've talked about many times, is a great emergence of Black women celebrated in corporate America, entrepreneurs, number one holder of higher achieving degrees, because of the great emergence of people as a whole understanding who they are, because there is knowledge out there, because there are things that are being put out there. People do not want to see a disempowered people become empowered. So what do we do as people? I think that's where this conversation is leading to, is how can we show up for our Black and brown brothers and sisters, and how can we continue to empower? Platforms like this are great in theory. However, the action behind it needs to start in our own homes. We need to be empowering our children and letting them know that it doesn't matter what they teach you at school. Here, I'm going to teach you more than what you'll ever learn at school. We need to have like group discussions. We need to have days where we come together, as whether it's virtually, whether it's in person, wherever, where we are just coming, not just to come together just to talk about things, but to set policies and procedures in place for our families as whole. Like, we're not just doing it with just one family, but we're doing it with communities. We're doing it with states. We're doing it with countries, and we're going beyond from where we are to where the people are.
Can I say something? That reminds me of something your guest, when we talked about on Saturday with your dad, just kind of even taking that further, he looked at you guys as his children. He said, I had to realize I was raising 4 families, right? And so I think that if we can, a lot of people, I know I'm a big picture person and some people aren't like that, but if you see the big picture, like outside of, okay, I have 4 kids, these are 4 families, now this is 4 families of knowledge of carrying on what what I want to see an empowered person look like, right? And so I think if we can also as a community see the bigger picture of, it's not just about getting reparations or getting money, because honestly, yes, they're starting to talk about that, but it's still not going to be match what we said we want owed, right? But if we can band together, band as a community and band our dollars together, we'll have that. We'll have what we are owed, but we will pay it to ourselves, right? And so seeing ourselves as the bigger picture, not just you and I, right? Seeing ourselves as a whole.
As a nation. Come on, somebody.
Yeah.
Yes, goodness.
We got to see ourselves bigger. I like that. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Janine.
Well, I guess, listen, everybody's been saying some amazing things. Listen, thank you all for tuning in and for time, I see everybody in the comments. And listen, this is a very, very big topic and conversation. Everything you've heard the ladies share so far and just everything that we're discussing on today. And for those who may be tuning in just now or joining in with us, we're talking about, of course, this is Juneteenth. Today's Juneteenth, and we're just kind of discussing how there's been this big push to erase Black history from curriculum, from schools, just being able to teach our history. And the reality, just piggybacking on what all of everybody have said so far, is that they just don't want us to know. That's the basis of it. They don't want us to know, because not only does it disempower them, like has been said, and it also paints them. It's almost like, imagine if you, because I think I saw somebody on a comment on a post earlier today, just in Juneteenth, say, imagine if you were as a Caucasian individual happened to come and you see the real truth that, okay, I'm the problem, or not me personally, but my history, my ancestry, what my true history is what has caused this to be, and I don't know about my other sisters here, but I can speak for myself to say that this has always, even as a woman of faith, as a believer, this has always been a very, very touchy thing for me. You know what I'm saying? Because even though I know as believers and people of faith, it's easy to want to try to cover these sorts of issues and things that sort in the cloak of faith and belief and love and things of that sort, which we know God is love and there's no discrimination as a believer, right? But we can't get away from the reality and the truth of what we as a people, what we deal with, and the reality is, I know me, I've experienced, things where it's almost like in other nationalities, specifically, the one that we have the most clashing with, I've seen it where it's like it's something that is inherently in them. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I don't even know if they even, and I'm not saying this is everybody, it's not a blanket thing, obviously, it's not a blanket reality, but I see it more than not. You know what I'm saying? Where it's almost like it's something that is just inherently in them, to where even when they don't try, even when they're trying not to be, they don't even realize that sometimes they're displaying ways that are still yet being, conflicting in this whole racial, setting or just basis of how the world is now. And so to me, it's like we need to know the history. You know what I'm saying? Not only do we as Black people and we as people of color need to know what our history is, but to be honest, they need to know too. You know what I'm saying? And it's the truth. There's so much bondage in it. The shameless plug to the sheer truth. You know what I'm saying? To the sheer truth, because it's the truth that liberates us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's the truth that makes us free. And if they can keep, painting this picture with the lie, or if they can keep perpetrating the lie, then they can keep us bound. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate because, I think a few of our sisters here have said, it's like the more and more we come into awareness, the more and more we come to know, it's like fear begins to grip. Fear is gripping people, and people in higher places, people in the higher ups, and even from a governmental perspective. Because, I know, Steph, you were talking about how they built the projects, even talk about things like how we talk about the jail system and how people feel as if that's systematic racism. It's like there's so many different things that are deeply, deeply embedded in the very fabric of what this country is. I know critical race theory talking about Western civilization and how it's established. And there's so much it's almost like when you start to really know, I know we talk about how to fix it, but a lot of this stuff is almost like it was established wrong from the root. So it's almost like you got to kind of start from the beginning with God, you know what I'm saying, in the true way, to be able to kind of build it up how it's supposed to be. And it's almost like, man, it's so far gone the wrong way. It's like, man, they don't want to see change. They don't want to see change, especially if it's going to, like I think Andrea said, and I think somebody even said in the comments, if it's going to empower those who they feel have been lesser than for so long to now start taking a upper role, And the unfortunate reality is now, and y'all, I hope this comment I'm about to say isn't taken wrong, but it is what it is, because this is what my family has taught me, and I've told, like, I'm not sure about anybody else, but I like the elders in my family, and I'm not trying to take this in a certain route. Y'all know what I'm saying when I say it, but they're the elders in my family. Like, I have had elders in my family that have, like their family reunions and things of that sort. They'll tell us, like, they'll come to it like, you're not even African American. You don't even know what your history is, and they'll tell me, I'm saying, you're truly, this is what you really are. And I'm not saying what it is for the sake of trying not to go down that path, you know what I'm saying? Because I know there's so much conflict with us as a people trying to awaken to who we truly are and what that means biblically, what it means historically in our families and things of that sort. But the reality is that when you start to really, truly know who you are, it takes us studying, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not even going to say just studying, like our sister Andrea said, as a family, taking our power back and being able to, educate our own families, like I was just describing how the elders of my family do. But I'll even take it a step further and say, kind of like what you're saying, impacting the cities. But we have got to get more accustomed from a political basis,
right,
and being out there and actually taking an active role in policy and in politics.
That's right.
Because,
that's right.
I know every year when, not every year, but the time when the presidential elections come around, people, they're so quick to get engulfed into the presidential election, right? But they don't pay attention to the local elections. They don't pay attention to who the mayor is, who their council members are. They don't pay attention to the state representatives and things of that sort. You have to start getting involved in these things, because, like, right now we're talking about a battle of curriculum being taught, you know what I'm saying? But guess what? If you don't let your kid go to school, guess who's gonna get a knock on their door? Guess who's gonna get in trouble with the law? But at the same token, they want to force you to take your kids to school. But so we have to have a say somewhere, And I think we have to be more active, proactive in these ways, so we can try to get ahead of it, so we can have a little bit more leverage in what the youth is being taught. Because at the rate it's going, God is in control at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? And so, when God is the foundation of your family, obviously, despite what they may attempt, or what those who, the powers that be may attempt to do, that's why the Bible says, train up a child in the way it should go, because we have to know where that control lies. It lies in the families and our ability to empower and to teach and to train our children, and not being put so much responsibility on these institutions that, hint, according to critical race theory, has been deeply ingrained with wrong doctrines and ideologies that's mold the narrative, The struggle.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. This is good information. I'm getting messages. I know y'all see me looking down. I'm getting messages, personal messages, like, oh, this is so important. I didn't know some of this stuff. So this is good. I mean, a lot of people don't know. Old, young. Some people keep blinders on to what's the reality is in life. I do find that people that maybe like my grandparents' age and older sometimes still. So I'm a true speaker, y'all. Sorry. I don't ever mean to offend anybody. I live in reality. That's just who I am. But I do still feel like sometimes in my grandparents' generation, they still tend to kind of have a slave mentality, right? Even as far as, us having a Black president, it happened. You know what I'm saying? Having certain Black people stand up or be in certain roles, it's almost kind of like sometimes they just want us to keep our voices quiet, but it's almost out of the fear that they had when they were going through the civil rights movements and things of that sort. But we as a people, as a generation, we're different, and I'm speaking specifically 30 to 60s right now. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of a different generation, a different population, right? Once we're gone, our children going to have the voices to advocate and be empowered by their knowledge and history, right? Who will it be? That's going to stand up. I want us to shift a little bit, kind of take a step backwards. I would like for us to share when did you learn about Juneteenth, and what was your knowledge, or is your knowledge, what was your knowledge and is your knowledge at this point about Juneteenth?
I learned about Juneteenth. I think I was probably maybe about 10 years old. One thing that my mom was very adamant about was history, teaching us our history, um, even even with our physical bodies. Like, she was very, very, very in tune with wanting us to know and be knowledgeable, and not just know to have knowledge, but know to apply so we could obtain wisdom. So I was about 10 years old. We went to an actual Juneteenth celebration, and this was the time. So the people who did Kwanzaa, because that's when I was like, learning about a whole lot of stuff. The people who did Kwanzaa also did Juneteenth celebration in California. And basically they were saying how they didn't believe in the 4th of July, and how that we have to celebrate our true freedom as Black people. So that was my first, like, really, really jarring interruption of, like, okay, hold on, what you mean by that? So it was kind of like a pause for me as a 10-year-old, feeling like, okay, I thought this was our, day of freedom. He's like, no, Juneteenth was for Black people, a couple of years after everything else. So that was my first acknowledgement into it. And I think even now with the broader, I don't think this was part of your question, but I'm gonna add this little bit to it. But even now with the broader scope of Juneteenth being placed on as a federal holiday, and I believe 2021, and then actually 2021, and then actually signed in 2022, and then signed in other places this year. So I think with everything that's coming forth about Juneteenth, I think it gives so much awareness to Black people, and it gives us not only awareness to know who we are, but also something to be proud about, because of how they celebrated, how they, made it a big hoorah. Like, a lot of times I think we are always grieving as Black people, but this is our moment to actually celebrate. And we spend years of grieving and not years of celebration. We spend years of mourning, but not years of celebration. And I think the one thing that I love about Juneteenth is it's jubilee, it's freedom. All these different words that come forth when you think of Juneteenth. And I'm just so happy to be a part of a family where, it was celebrated and we knew a lot about it.
Well, I guess I'll just step out to say, listen, to surprisingly, and first of all, that's a beautiful story. I love, hearing stories like that where, families have had the ability to take out the time to share or, make these sorts of things known. I actually was on the opposite end of that type of a scenario where, listen, I just literally found out about this thing. What has been a couple of years, a few years or so since it's all been big talk and started to be a thing that's being celebrated. And I ain't gonna lie, it was a reality check for me. You know what I'm saying? Because my family, even though the elders of my family, they're particular about sharing things and sharing history and everything, but when you start to go down the generations into the younger generations, it's not as widely, pushed or taught or just talked about or whatnot. However, like I said, I'm not gonna lie, I'm tempted to say as woman of faith, but I know it's a little bit slightly different. It's a different, put it like this here. I felt like it put me in a space where I had felt like I needed to go back and study, you know what I'm saying? Because, there's so much, just over the course of your life that you are taught and or learn over the course of the years. But when you have something like this here and you're not the type of person that's been fortunate to actually have been taught this or learned about this when you were in your younger years, and then something so big and so significant comes out like, hey, you know what I'm saying? This is what this is. It's like, well, hold on, where was I at all my life? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what have we been doing all these years? What is really going on? So it kind of gives you an aha moment on so many different levels that makes you really, really want to be more intentional about your own personal study, your own personal research and so forth, because you see just how impacting disclosing or not disclosing the truth is, or hiding the truth is, and to think that it's even still in many obviously ways and so forth, still trying to be perpetuated in many ways. It's like, it's almost like you refuse to be, I ain't gonna be this, you ain't gonna pull the wool over my eye again. I'm gonna know who I am, you know what I'm saying, and where I'm from and what's going on, because that it was really a big shocker. And so now I'm definitely more aware of it, but I'm not gonna lie, I feel like it's still soaking in. I feel like it's still becoming a part of my natural fabric to get because you're so used to 4th of July. And I'm like, I feel conflicted about 4th of July now, where I'm like, well, do I celebrate it? Do I not celebrate it? Man, I'm gonna go give me some fireworks today. You know what I'm saying? And so it's a experience to have to go through the transition of it, of accepting this truth now, you know what I'm saying, and this reality, and knowing how to make this a part of your normal, year to year, what I'm saying, time of celebration, like Andrea was saying, and so forth. And I'm not gonna lie, even it makes you want to dig even deeper, to kind of see, because obviously we know, just like I think it was Seth or whichever one of our sisters here was saying, even though this is a day of celebration and a significant time of our history, but like we said, our history doesn't even begin there. You know what I'm saying? Our history goes back before that. You know what I'm saying? And so it definitely is an aha moment to say, listen, do your own due diligence. You know what I'm saying? How the Bible says, why is the scripture in my mind? It says, study to show yourself approved, And I know we always think about that in light of the scriptures and biblically, but I think that's the case in all of life. We need to be a studier of the things that involve us for our own self to be approved, knowing how to rightly divide things, knowing when something's being pulled over our eyes, and just in all areas of life. And so, yeah, it's been a doozy.
Well, for me, I found out about Juneteenth during COVID. I think when we were coming 2020 or something like that. And I think COVID really exposed a lot. And I know when it first started becoming a thing here in Florida, because we had a whole blackout sale, meaning Black owned businesses, where we went to a big market, the amphitheater. I'm sure Janine know about it here, the amphitheater down here in West Palm. It was nothing but small Black owned business. And our goal was at that time was, let's not support 4th of July. As we learn about what Juneteenth was, we weren't going to do fireworks. So when Juneteenth came, we were all out there supporting each other, really buying each other things and so forth, posting it. We weren't going to spend any money on 4th of July. It did not stand. And I think that's the problem. Not like I hate the division, and that's what it's causing in some sense, right? But our Caucasian, because that's where 4th of July comes up, and so forth, they're going to stick together. And they're going to follow through. And so when we all out there, the hype of us talking and getting excited and like, wow, we didn't know that this was history back in Texas. I researched it. Each year I'm learning more and more on my own. I can't rely on nobody else to teach me but our own. And what it did was also woke up something in me to not put my knowledge and my wisdom in society, in the school, or in the president or anybody else, because I was really disappointed in myself that I didn't know anything about Juneteenth until I researched, and I'm like, back in 1880 in Texas, slavery was set free back then, and it became a thing now. And so it's it's funny, but not in a way where it's laughable, if I must say, because we were like, where's the fireworks the first year where we really celebrated, where the news made a thing about it? We were like, why y'all didn't do fireworks like they do for 4th of July? And even the year after that, and this year, we're like, are we gonna do 4th of July? So it's just it's cool to see the bunch that's trying to walk into it, step into what it is, and research on their own. And believe it or not, a lot of business over here they do make it very big. Like, we have 2 amphitheaters where they're doing blackout businesses, and people that holds weight in Palm Beach, like black owned consuls and so forth, that they're going forward and they're speaking about it and they're holding events. So I mean, people are doing something, but because we don't have the crowd as maybe the Caucasian people do have, if I must say. And we like, I think it was Tevis that mentioned something about her great grandparents or her grandparents may shy away because they're afraid. And I think that's what we face a lot in our culture, is that we want to do something, but we are afraid to step out and be the oddball. We're afraid to step out and be different because we may get locked up in the process of doing it. Let's be real. We can't go out there and really do what it is maybe someone else will be able to do. And I think that's where FAIR comes in at. And I'm just learning it as I go on my own. And it brings back to it being taught for the first question. It brings back to it being taught in school. And I believe a bunch of you guys said that we can't rely on the school system to teach us anything. Like, this is why it's so important for us to be present parents and to be hands-on, because the education system in a whole right now is really being torn down. Even aside from, Black history being taught and so forth in our culture, it's really being, a lot of teachers are being, especially in Florida, are tired. They're tapping out. They're changing their fields. So it got to start from home. We can't keep putting the responsibility on society to teach. Yes, we want to know the knowledge for ourselves. We want to research it for ourselves, so we gain the knowledge and the wisdom so we can go out and apply it where it needs to be applied. And once we apply it out there, not in the home, we learn it not to keep it for ourselves, but we learn and gain the knowledge so we can go out. And if we got to go on the streets, if we got to go stand at the courthouse or something and speak, I take it back to Martin Luther King, like, whatever we got to do to stand forth and go forward, to break a cycle, to break the pattern. The root is where, like, the question is really, honestly, when I researched, they were released out of prison and from slavery in Texas. I believe the date was 1880. The question is, why are we still here today? That's what the question really should be. After how many decades, why are we still, as African American, still in this struggling place, being in bondage? But I believe a few people said it too. Bondage is in your mind. Bondage and slavery is a mindset, right? And if we continue to shy away and hide away, and allow them to keep us in bondage, that we are not worthy of being taught the history of where we came from. Because Jessica said it. If you're really, and it's in the Bible, our culture didn't just start from just African American. A lot of us is Asian. There's Egypt, Israel. It starts from so back then, and we don't know that because we leave it up to the education system of what they are allowed to teach us, and we shy away from that. So I wanted to combine the first and the second together. But yeah, I found out about it during COVID, when COVID was really kind of releasing a little bit, and been learning it since then.
For me, I found out what Juneteenth was about around the same time that Daisy and Janine said they found out. when COVID-19 hit. And it was kind of odd to me because when, as Daisy said, when COVID-19 first hit and you heard about what Juneteenth was, I sat back and I watched how our African American people was all ganged in. They was all in to support each other. They was all in to stop black. They was all in to do what it took to make sure that our history stayed our history, that we celebrated our freedom. And that was good for about a year. And then the next year, I see them out here doing the same thing that we've been doing for years and years and years. And what it made me ask, like, was we hype about the moment or was we hype about the knowledge that we was receiving? A lot of us have gotten hype off of a moment. We got hype off of a moment of, oh wow, this is the newest trend. Let's jump on here. Let's make sure that we keep this trend going. We don't want to be left out. But when the going got tough and the tough got going, then we dropped that trend and we ready to find out what else is popping after that. Juneteenth is not a trend that we need to jump on and jump off. We need to make sure that this history does not stop with us. As African Americans, we cannot let this history stop with us. It would be a crime shame if my children found out about Juneteenth off of another pandemic that we had. I refuse to let that happen. My children are going to know what Juneteenth is because I'm going to tell them about what Juneteenth is. It's not going to take another pandemic to happen, and I'm not going to wait until a corrupt school system to tell them what Juneteenth is, because let's be all the way honest, a corrupt school system is going to tell them about 4th of July, but not about no Juneteenth. They're going to tell them about the knowledge that they want them to know. So we just got to make sure that we are educating ourselves. We cannot be mad at the school system. Yes, we can be mad about it. We can be mad about it. But after we know what they are doing, how can you stay mad at them? Are you going to stay mad at them? Or are you going to make a change yourself? When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Actually believe them and move differently. Okay, bet. Y'all don't want to teach our children about Juneteenth? We're going to teach them ourselves about Juneteenth. It's not going to take y'all to do it because y'all have proven time and time again that y'all are incapable of doing it.
And if I could add on to what you just said, James, because you know how the saying goes: if you wanna keep what is it? If you want to keep something from people of color, put it in the book. Is that how they say it? We have as a people, I think we have got to start shifting how, and I think it has happened because I know many people who are readers. They do different things to where they do seek out knowledge, But I think we have to push that logic or that perspective even more to where we can step outside of that comfort zone and begin to truly seek things out. You know what I'm saying? Even when it comes down to the younger generation, that's why they say reading is fundamental, you know what I'm saying? But we have got to promote people to actually start seeking out the knowledge and read, you know what I'm saying? Like I know, it's with this information knowledge, this information era that we're in, it is nothing to get on Google, to get on the internet and just research, you know what I'm saying, books that are rich in historical information, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to lie, we are, platforms that are faith-based, you know what I'm saying? And so that's why also it is very, very important to have the Holy Spirit as your guide, you know what I'm saying? To have a faith-based, God founded and rooted lifestyle, because what I've learned over the course of things, just over the course of years of just these sorts of things coming up and having to pretty much unlearn and relearn things, is that the Holy Spirit is truly the one who leads and guides us into all truth. You know what I'm saying? And so guess what? When you're reading books, when you're reading, this information that's out there, the Holy Spirit will flag your spirit. You know what I'm saying? You'll read something and it won't sit with your spirit as truth. But guess what? And not only that, you can tell usually if it's truth based off of, like I said earlier, whether or not it's liberation coming from it. Because if it's information or some sort of a knowledge or or something that's being implemented, and at the end of the day, the fruits from that thing is keeping somebody, be it an individual or a people group, bound, then that lets you know right there that that is a high flag to say whatever this is stemming from is not rooted in truth, because truth is going to liberate. Truth is going to free you. You know what I'm saying? And so I think as we're on this search to have to get knowledge and get understanding, that we have to be true avid seekers of truth. You know what I'm saying? And allow the Holy Spirit to be our guide so that we can, again, rightly divide the word of truth. You know what I'm saying? So we can know, just who we are, and truly have that added level of freedom. Because listen, we're still, everybody's still in this freedom march, this freedom train, trying to seek higher levels of freedom, because it didn't end there, at Juneteenth. Like I said, this is a ongoing journey, like we said, getting liberated in the mind and so forth. So
this comment right here is powerful.
The lion is not going to teach the gazelle how not to be eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And to translate that, the powers that be are not going to teach those who are the underdogs how to
win the fight.
Come on.
Their demise.
They're not. They're going to keep us right where they want us.
Right. James, go ahead. I was going to let us all respond to this. Go ahead and respond to or check out some more of the comments, because I definitely want our watchers to know that we're going to interact with them. I know Mr. Devon had some, Mr. Haney had some, kind of closer to the top. May not be much for us to respond to, more so just to speak it out into existence.
Yeah, that's true. Support HBCUs.
Yes, indeed.
JSU, HBCU. Got my degree.
That's right.
I will answer your question. Oh, sorry.
Not enough of us come together to begin to create change. That's something
that one right there.
Discuss within. Look how quickly the LGBT community had their issues addressed. They understand strength in numbers.
Right. And they did it with no fear. And if they had fear, they didn't let it come out, right?
They did it afraid.
Anyway, for sure. For sure.
Let's look at Mr. Haney.
They are stoking fear about the great replacement theory in order to try to remove all that we have endured, and brainwashing kids of nowadays to think that we are trying to make them feel guilty about who they are. But we are trying to enlighten them to know that wasn't right then, and it doesn't need to happen again.
That part.
Yeah. Well, to answer your question, Tevis, I'm the same with Janine and Pastor and all them. I didn't know. I think I didn't. I may have known, but I knew about 8th of August before I knew about.
Me too.
And when I found out about 8th of August, they were telling me, said the day that the slaves knew they were free in Kentucky. I said, okay. But they always said it was, we found out, but they never had a name for that day. So I really didn't know the name of Juneteenth, but I think I inherently knew about it just because it was August.
Yeah.
And for everybody that doesn't know, I expressed in the group earlier, but 8th of August for us in Kentucky is the day we found out 19 days after the proclamation of Juneteenth happened in Kentucky that slaves in Kentucky were free. So that was the day that it met Kentucky. So we also celebrate 8th of August here.
Yeah. And that was the same with me, Jessica. And I think I was probably in high school when I started being able to go to Russellville for 8th of August events. Yeah. And so I didn't, again, connect it with Juneteenth, right? However, I did learn about Juneteenth prior to the pandemic. I've known about it for some years, right? But definitely not when I found out about 8th of August. I know that when I was doing some of my reading, about the freedom in Texas, I think it was like 1865. And even still, I want to say some of the Union troops, right, had to pretty much go to, I think, Galveston and say that these people are free, because a lot of the slaveholders were not still wanting to release the slaves, right? Still wanted them to have free labor. And, oftentimes we hear that when the slaves were freed, that they ran around like chickens with their heads cut off, got in trouble and had to rob and steal. And some of them probably did. Don't get me wrong. Some of them probably did, because they had to survive. That was the way. But in that survival mode, they did get locked back up or locked up, go to prison. But really, prison was going back into slavery, right? To raise crops and all the things that they were doing when they were enslaved. But that wasn't it. That's what we've always heard. There were groups of people all over the world that tried to celebrate. They try to celebrate this day, and the white people would continuously stop them to the point where they had to go buy land in order for them to just celebrate this day, right? There was people that was trying to build a Black Wall Street, that was trying to build communities to have upkeep, right? They was creating systems for them to be able to survive. But we don't hear about that. We hear about the ones that were back getting in trouble to try to survive, not the ones that were surviving, not the ones that had the mindset that you guys are speaking of to survive. We're no longer in this physical slavery. Our mind never was. Now that our physical state isn't in slavery, our mental state is truly free as well, right? So again, that history that we only hear the bad parts or the not so good parts, and not the part where we were surviving, that we were building communities together, that we got together to build a land just so that we could celebrate this day. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important. I'm sorry if y'all, I got my windows open, so I'm sorry if y'all hear the kids outside playing. But anyway, I think it's important to understand that it wasn't just the people that were getting in trouble and having to go back into slavery. There was truly communities of people that were doing well. And I think the park in Texas that was originally bought by slaves for celebration is called Emancipation Park. I think it's still standing, but I think that's just something worth knowing, something that's important to know for sure. I think everybody answered that question. Go ahead. No, you didn't. Go ahead.
Pastor Greer.
Well, the funny thing is, I also was one of those ones that was fairly ignorant to the whole Juneteenth meaning and behind, the significance of the date and everything. I also began to be more informed in the last few years. I had heard Juneteenth, the word sprinkled around, but never really knew what it meant. And it's so funny how when you start to really, your eyes start to become open to things, you start seeking out information versus waiting for information to be supplied to you. And I think that that's something that those of us in this group here that have learned about it in later years, we've been able to recognize that we have the power to go seek out that information, because there's a whole world out there of information that we don't know, and we'll never know everything. So our whole lives should be spent expanding our and broadening our knowledge about not just Juneteenth, but everything concerning our culture and other cultures, because not knowing is the majority of the problem. Once you know, then we can get together and decide, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get this together? And the whole thing of how do we celebrate? I was finding out some stuff even last night. That's why I have the strawberry soda, because it's the unofficial official soda of Juneteenth, and eating foods that are red in color,
Yes.
and wearing red and doing different things like that to represent the blood that was shed over the entirety of slavery. So yeah, we and for us to be able to even admit that we didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's
that's power though.
Yeah, that gives people the because sometimes people make you feel bad if you don't know something. And then it kind of makes you not want to seek out, because it's almost like you're afraid to find out what all you don't know. But let this be a challenge for all of us to continue to seek out information and seek out those things that we haven't, previously been concerned about, because there's so much going on that it's hard to kind of sometimes go backwards, but we have to. So.
Can I say one thing? I think with us liberating ourselves in this moment, there is also freedom. And not just, and I want to speak to something James said, because for me and for where I am, like it hasn't just been a trend. It has been something that's remained constant. And even the celebration on today, Saturday, Friday, like it has remained And that's one thing that I think sometimes we give so much notice to, like what people aren't doing. We don't celebrate what they are doing. And I just want to just put a plug out there. In every city, in every state, there is somebody celebrating. If you go into your Facebook events, if you go into your events in your state, you will see celebrations. This is not just something that's fading away. This is something that's remaining, and this is something that is going to stay.
I agree. You know, this whole Black erasure thing, right? Them continuously trying to erase us.
Even us.
From America, right? And as I step into that erasure, you know, I want to not only our Black history, but we talk about the violence, right? The violence that we face, the Black on Black crimes, the crimes against us from those that are supposed to be here to protect us, right? Not giving us a chance to even speak, right? Shooting us with our hands up or our backs turned. Like all of this, you know, alcohol, or liquor stores on the corner of each block, and you know, drugs coming in from places that, you know, we have no access to in some, you know, small or big standards. But you know, we think about how they constantly try to erase us. Everything that they're doing and putting in place is them trying to willfully just the ignorance that they have, or the fear, maybe I should just say, of us having any kind of power. You know, I say that a lot of the things that we have over here that to talk about, we've kind of spoke about it just in our conversations, right?
Yeah.
But I got, you know, in these, because it's just natural to have those topics come up in what we're sharing.
Yeah.
But you know, when I think about the Black violence, the violence on Black people, Black on Black violence, I think about how do we stop that? How do we stop a lot of these things that are coming against us as a community, as people? What do we do, right? And you know, I oftentimes think, not to put this all on Black people that are directly in politics or that are lawyers, but like who opens that door to stand in the gap to help change these policies, to help you know, change the laws and how things are now, right? Where does that really start? I oftentimes think about that, right? And I'm like, you know, maybe if I could reach out to people that I know that are lawyers, like why aren't you, what can we do to help you? Is there a fear that you have to step out, you know, because is your job in jeopardy, right? And I guess really what I'm asking is really, where do we start? We know that we can start by this conversation. This is a start, right? This conversation being
what's the next one?
Right? But then what's next? And then what's next, right? What do we really do?
Well,
go ahead. Whoever.
Can a lawyer?
Yeah, go on ahead.
Change the law, but he can change he can change the precedent in which that they review cases, right? They can start using actual language instead of he was killed, he was murdered. He was, you know, using the right language in cases and using those things. But you know, having access, we have access to even reach out to like city commissioners, anybody in the county, in that you can email them at any time. That is, you know, there are certain freedoms that we already have that we just don't utilize.
We don't utilize or know how to utilize. We're not taught, just like we're not taught finances, we're not taught the structures of the political realm in our community. We know about the bigger government, but what about in our communities? A lot of people don't know these things, right? We know that we're supposed to go vote. Do we really know who we're voting for? Are we voting for Black faces just because they're Black faces? Are they really for us, right? Like, again, how we're educating ourselves on our history and the education behind it. We need to truly educate ourselves on the politics, as small as our community, because to me, starting at the bottom and working our way up is key. You know, go ahead.
I was gonna say, even just getting involved in NAACP, I know, everybody got their own thoughts about that. I know.
Okay. We like it NAACP. Go ahead.
They good. If you if you
Everybody got a
can
little
get
bad
involved
habit.
and even just go to some of the just go to meetings and get the bylaws and everything, there is so much that you can learn just by
That's
that
true. That's
and
true.
how things can change.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, even if you don't all the way agree, you don't have to like everything, but
Right.
if you want to find a
Get the
way how you can
knowledge.
help it and say, okay, I'm going to branch off from that, but get with the people that are already, the organizations that are already built
Mm-hmm.
to learn more of what maybe, okay, I can't do it with them, but I can do this on my own, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
I did my thesis on Brown versus Board of Education and Mendez versus Westminster, which is a black girl and a Mexican girl in California. So those two different cases were built on each other. That's how a policy was changed because of those cases. So you ask the question, where do we go after this conversation? Like the number one thing when you think about policy and you think about lawyers, taking it to court and using evidence-based, political-based, personal-based, using those things to come forth with in a courtroom, as well as going to your congressman, as well as going to your state representative, as well as sending those emails. And then I think the number one thing that we need to talk about now is, what policy do we want to see change? What do we want to see? Is it just the critical race theory? Is it what are they teaching in schools? Is it education in Kentucky? Is it education in Mississippi? Like, we got to pinpoint what policy we want to see change. I think that's the first and second thing. And then of course having the evidence-based things to come behind it, along with a lawyer, along with someone to position those things. And NAACP helped tremendously with Brown versus Board of Education, as well as Mendez versus Westminster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As I sat here and thought about that question, how can we make the change that you want to see? I immediately went back and I started thinking about our forefathers who went through all of the situations that they went through with injustice, through the civil rights movement, through being everything that they went through. And as I thought about it, one thing came to my mind. How did those changes get started? The changes got started because of conversation, but also because of where the conversations was being had. The church had stepped up and was willing to take a stand for what is right and what is wrong. You have to get to a point where the church is being the church and stop being afraid of what others might say about it, and just be the church and be the change that you're wanting to see in our community. We cannot say that we are a church of the community when you're looking at our community, and our community, half of our community is living on the streets. You cannot say you are a church of the community when half of your community is sitting here trying to figure out where their next food is coming from, but you sitting here with a big building and not doing anything to help your community. You have to make those changes in a way to where that we stop talking about it and we start being about it. We say that we are the church, but the church has to stop being in the four walls and start getting out on the streets and start putting our feet to the floor and start making the changes that we want to see. Start showing up at these court cases. Start showing up at these district meetings. Start showing up at these meetings, letting our faces be seen, letting them know, look, we matter too. You are not going to keep making these decisions without seeing our face in the building. So that's one thing that we got to do. We got to start showing our face and being represented.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, James, because a lot of the churches back, like with Malcolm, them that there were the church was the meeting place for these changes, and the
Exactly.
church was heavily involved in the leaders of the church, and I think for younger people today too, we got to realize the old way and the new way works. We got to make it work
That's
together,
good.
That's
right?
good.
And so,
That's good.
yeah, we got to make it work together because there there's evidence that the old way works, right?
Mhm.
But we might need a little the new way too. So we've got to work
Sure that.
together and mix the two
Yep.
together.
And
Because
that's in every aspect, just even in the workforce. That it used to be like when I was coming through college, people would say, once you get a certain age, people aren't going to want to hire you. Well, I'm finding that to not be all the way true, because although there's still older people in the workplace, this new generation need some type of structure or respect or obedience or task, something from some of these people that's in the older generations, right? So just like the older generation can learn from some of the younger generation can learn from the older in every aspect, right? Especially if we are still able mind, able body, willing and able. I think being able to come together is so important. And I think my personal opinion too is a lot of the churches are fearful of destruction, fearful that harm is going to come. And people have a right. God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. However, people have a right to feel the way they want to feel, right? But I think that fear, and then that time, and then those that may have lived through certain things don't want to deal with it again, because they know the struggles and the pain that they endured, right? But John Lewis said, "Good trouble." We can get in good trouble, right? I'm willing to get in good trouble. I feel no way about it, but that's just who I am as a person, right? However, it can't just be me alone, right? It just can't be the seven of us alone, right? It is going to take truly a village, a community, a team, right? And it's not going to be easy. And again, it may not be changed in our lifetime. We may not see it, right? But maybe our children will see it, or our grandchildren will see it, So you're right. I do believe that we all can learn from each other. I do wish that churches would step up more in communities, and especially smaller communities, and be a force with those who are going to support them. Most naturally, you see young people have a certain kind of love and respect for our elders or our senior people. But sometimes our elders and senior people have a fear of the younger people because of how they move and how they act, right? But I think that gap needs to be closed. And how does that gap get closed? Communication. And how do we bring that communication together? If we can't get together and be brought together in church, in our safe place, right? Then how else can we come together? So it can
I got a
happen.
question.
hmm
Do you think this generation sees church as a safe place?
I don't feel that. I think it depends on their family dynamic, their family structure, right? How they've been raised, where church was in their parents or their grandparents' life. I don't think they hold it to a value maybe like we did in our parents and our grandparents, not necessarily because things may have happened or they hear certain things, but just because they hear so much from everywhere, right? From social media, from peers, from so many things. And just like the pandemic messing with the academic, the education system, I think it played a part in our religious time as well, face to face time, because for so long we didn't go to church in person. And some churches that were smaller, little country churches, such as mine back home, they didn't have that platform of doing it live on live streaming, right? So then you really lose members, right? You lose your children, you lose people. So I don't know that they think of it. I don't know what they think of it as. Honestly, I think that they know. I'm gonna speak from my perspective. My daughter knows the Lord. She loves the Lord. She knows that church is what she has to do as long as she's in my home. And I pray that she will continue to do it when she leaves my home. And if she strays away for a while, I pray that she knows how to come back to it. Do I feel like I have created a foundation for her? Of course, since she was in the womb, right? But do I feel like she feels like some Sundays she's like, "Mom, can we just go virtual?" I'm like, "Let's go in person." Like, she's like, "Well, we can just watch it at home," and blah blah blah. She has to tell me things that she learns, and her teenage church that they have at church on Sundays. But I don't know that they value that face to face interaction, communicating with people like we did because of just the generation and the times that we are in now. And that's just my perspective. That's just my perspective. So to answer your question, I don't know that they think of it as a safe place. I don't know that. I don't know that I can answer that confidently.
But if I could piggyback on everything that you all have said, just in this setting with the whole premise of things that can be done to kind of address these sorts of things, because every first of all, every point that I've heard made so far are good points, but I think that's kind of sometimes from a more broader picture, big picture perspective, sometimes what becomes a little overwhelming for the one specific individual or on an individual basis, because I'm not gonna lie, there's so much that can be done, individual acts, individual deeds, collective acts, collective deeds, and so forth. But I think where we lack from a more broader picture, again, as a people, is strategy. You know what I'm saying? Because the reality is that it's not a one pronged approach that will really truly try to render change. Of course it's little steps to get to the to those different milestones, but I think that's why, even though I know they're like with Jessica, and I think Jessica and Dre, with the organizations like the NAACP, it's my prayer, and this is just me, it's my prayer that God would begin to raise up new systems of change or organizations that can help bring these things together. Because I know, just because I'm a very big picture looking person, and when I see things, and so it's almost as though, even though I feel like the blueprint from a broader perspective has been set in many ways, but I feel like this new generation has to take it up a notch. And wherein you see organizations like the NAACP come together and do a lot of the different things that they do, the movements and so forth, I think it needs to be a uniting and a coming together, to where it won't be just okay, double it. You know what I'm trying to say? A little tongue twister. But when it comes down to a lot of the things that we see them do, right? We see them advocating a lot. We see them stepping up, especially when it comes down to supporting in legal matters and things that take place. And some of the, whatever we see that's positive from these various spaces and organizations, even churches in the past, like what James talked about with the thing. Whenever we see those positive things, I think we need to pull those good traits out. But I'm not gonna lie, I think there needs to be an emergence, if I could say, of some sort of a newly established organization that could bring a little bit more unison together and unity together in these various spaces. Because even like we were just talking about, when it comes down to people being safe in the church, like, yes, the church most certainly needs to be one of the forerunners in some things of this sort, right? However, nowadays it might not need to be in the church. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like JC was saying, let's take it outside of the four walls, because not everybody is going to go to church. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it also even kind of reminds me of the some of the conversations we had in many settings. When y'all know me, I'm a Seven Mountain person. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Seven Mountain person. But the reality is that not everybody has the capacity to do every single thing. And like I said, that's where strategy comes into the picture at, because at the end of the day,
before you keep going, are you saying strategy with policy, or are you saying strategy with coming together?
Both of them. Because I feel like the strategy and coming together will help to mold the narrative of how to impact the policy. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like I'll give an example. Like, if I'm somebody who's in arts and entertainment, right, and I'm an actress, right, like. And shameless plug to our sister Crystal that has been doing, putting this space out with this it's in the house concept. Like, we have to learn what we have within our capacity to do,
right?
So that we can do what we can do within our ability. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not everybody's gonna. Now, we all can vote. We all can vote. We all can get out there and educate ourselves from that standpoint, right?
We all can learn.
But beyond that portion of being able to actually vote, and stop expecting others to teach us. Listen, go Google. YouTube University. You know what I'm saying? Go old school and go to your library. However you want to do it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take nothing to get on Google and to just understand the foundational structure of what it is. What is the judicial system? What are the various different systems of the government? You know what I'm saying? How does it work? How does it function? Go to your local city's website. You know what I'm saying? Research who your counselors are. Research how their stuff is. Go to your council meetings. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's and this is where it's going to kind of bridge the gap with some of what everybody has said here, like from the church to the practical side, is that I'm not gonna lie, some of it, we have to have the spiritual sense, because I'm also a person that God has really dealt me heavily in a space of prayer and intercession and things of this sort, because at the end of the day, I know oftentimes, we try to beat the horse when it comes down to the practical things, but we see no progress. But because we got to realize there's spiritual strongholds, what I'm
That's
saying, and
right.
principalities and strong, there's strong men spiritually, what I'm saying, that are, so I think it has to be, like I said, a multifaceted approach and
Yeah, I
how
think
we
that's what
address these things.
Jessica was
Because listen,
saying.
if you got the old people, you got the old saints, and let's just say they the intercessors, they the old mother church. Guess what?
We
You know
need
what y'all
them.
role gonna be? Y'all gonna be the ones that's gonna be praying over this thing. You know what I'm saying? And covering this thing
That's
in prayer
right.
and pushing us through in prayer. You know what I'm saying? If you're in the entertainment industry or space, you know what? Your platform, your voice, what I'm saying, to push the
Mhm.
narrative or whatever the case is. So I think it's a multifaceted approach, but the reality is, that's why I said I wish there was an emergence of a platform that can bring the unity together, because if
Mhm.
we come together, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying, it's almost like everybody keeps still working in their own space, in their own lane, and they're making
Mhm.
small steps individually versus coming
Mhm.
together and being able to make some larger steps
Mhm.
forward.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's why I really admire Chadwick Boseman, because he would only take roles that uplifted, Black characters. Like he wouldn't
Mhm.
take any roles that, were just kind of like that stereotypical type that
Mhm. Yeah.
um,
The great.
Hollywood tries to portray. And I think
Mhm.
again, my thing was always about how can we stay uh, um, take up space, right? How can we stand in
Take
the gap? And
space.
that's one of those things.
Yes.
That's kind of like a silent protest. Like I'm not going to take anything that says that, oh, Black families don't come together, or you know what I'm saying, and portraying
Right.
those roles and
That
stuff.
part
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it was. I think it was important when you mentioned, do we necessarily have to? Do we still need to come together in the church? Can there be a other space of coming together? And there can be. I think.
Yeah.
I think the church was a safe place for all of us, at some point somewhere in life, most of us, right? But again, times have changed, right? We need to kind of sometimes maybe meet these young people where they are, because then maybe we can get more out of them. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that I don't know, no, maybe that is probably a great thought, a great idea, and probably what needs to be done, especially if we want to get more from them, right? I think
Right.
that also a lot of these children are fearful of, not, I don't even know if it's fear or shyness or insecurity, I don't know really what it is, but that face-to-face interaction, advocating for themselves in group settings is not like it used to be, right? They are
Right.
good behind the screen, they are good behind the phone, the text messaging, the email, and what have you. So I think that would bring out a different type of power and strengthen them if we continue to push that confidence in them, right? We've got to continue to empower them, right? And especially because we got so many people taken from them, not believing in them, belittling them, not supporting them. They hear it everywhere they go, sometimes even in their home, definitely in their sports, definitely in the classroom. I see it and hear it all the time, So I think that if we can stand in the gaps, where it's not expected, I think that's powerful. I think that's powerful for sure.
Yeah. I think.
Um, we have talked about a lot, and I do believe that we've shared our biblical standpoints with
Yeah.
every question that we've talked about, which I think is beautiful, and what needs to be done. I think we've spoke our truth in
Yeah.
every aspect as well. I want to just open the floor up for you guys to share anything else, or if there's any questions that you all have that you all want us to address in this space. If there are questions that are in the comments that we want to talk about, James, wherever you all feel that we should go in this moment, we're willing. I know we said we would give ourselves an hour and a half to two. But James, you all can decide on where you all want to go from here.
Okay, okay. I like this comment right here, where it came from Pastor Gregory, and I think I showed it already, where he said, to this generation, the hip hop has became the church,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and And that is true because, in all honesty, in this generation, hip hop music has made it to a point to where they feel like they are seen in hip hop music.
That's how they're heard. Hmm.
With the search, it
Yes.
shows that we are not really we are living in the do as I say, not as I do, or if you're not of a certain age, sit down somewhere you don't know what you're talking about.
Hmm.
We gotta start
Whose church
getting
is that?
there. We gotta get to that point to where we are not at the point to where we are criticizing because of our age,
Hmm.
but looking at the knowledge that they have to bring.
Hmm. Yeah.
And anybody else got anything before we
Keep
take
going,
a
keep going,
shift?
keep going, keep going.
So as we take a shift at this point and shift to the portion of the show that is a portion of the show that I really absolutely am excited about. And we actually talk about right now the fact of this being Real Talk Mondays, 100th episode, y'all. 100 shows
Whoop,
for
whoop.
Real Talk Monday. Y'all,
Woo!
this is amazing. It is amazing to me
Congratulations.
that God allowed a show that started in the midst of a pandemic to make it to 100 shows. And before we go too far into souring and showing love for that, this was not on the program. However, my sisters all know that I'm full of surprises at all
Yes, you are.
times.
Yeah.
And one of our sisters is celebrating her birthday today
Whoop
in the
whoop
name of Pastor Greer.
whoop whoop.
So I did a little something like this for her real quick.
Hey sis, yes, you are seeing me yet again because what? It is still your birthday month. Happy birthday, Pastor Sis. You know that you are an amazing person. If you don't know, I'm here to tell you that you are amazing. You are an amazing mother. You're an amazing wife. And let no one tell you different. You know, I think that you're super funny. You are the gospel comedian to me because you are so naturally versatile with your word of affirmation or your encouraging videos or your message from a scripture. You may take it and make it into something so funny that grabs attention in a unique way. So you are the comedian gift with the intellect and everything nice like that to the body of Christ. Continue to be who you are. Continue to uplift and do what God has called you to be. I pray that God continues to elevate you. I pray that God enlarges your territory and blows your mind beyond what you've prayed for, beyond what you've expected, because you deserve it and some. And I'm here to be witness of what God is getting ready to do and what God is going to do and has already been doing in your life. I love you, sis. And I pray that you really do celebrate big for your birthday all month, all month. We doing it all month. I love you, sis. Take care.
All right, all right, all right. So,
Where my handkerchief at? Oh, wait. That was beautiful. Sis. Thank you.
so before we continue on with that, I want to give my sisters a chance to shower her with love. And before they do that, I want to say, y'all, the voice that y'all hear on the Real Talk Monday theme song is that young lady right there. And without her, Real Talk, she has heard me call her on many of occasions, like stressed out, worn out, didn't know what I was gonna do next, and she was always there and gave me that big sister advice. And I appreciate her for everything that she does. At this time, we're gonna turn it over to Janine, Jessica. We're gonna let Andrea go, then Tevis, and then we'll continue on with the celebration of the 100th episode.
Yes, yes. Listen, Linda. Listen, Linda. I'm trying to tell you, listen, Stephanie, listen. I thank God for how we're able to celebrate each other like this here because I tell you, you all are precious, and specifically speaking, you, Stephanie, I thank God for you on today, and I think it wasn't even by chance or a coincidence that God allowed your birthday to fall on Juneteenth. Because just like I gave that shameless plug earlier about the whole concept of the sheer truth, I feel like I almost feel like your life is like the living example of what striving for freedom and achieving freedom truly look like, in the flesh, because I know there's so much that goes on nowadays and there's so much people deal with. But to me, it's almost like I said, you're a living example of what it looks like to be able to achieve those things. And I am just so grateful and so blessed to be able to say that I'm one of the sisters in the fold, and I'm just somebody that's in your space and being able to witness your journey and your story and so forth. Because, and I think I shared this even in a post on your page, that I feel like, so many of us have not had the opportunity to see what, examples of different things and models of things look like. But you have been so much of that and more for us. You've been such a perfect, model of what a true sister is. So you've been such a perfect model of what a pastor and a minister and a woman of God is. You've been such a good example of what even now a mother and a wife is like. It's a beautiful thing to witness, and I'm just it makes you grateful, like there was a reason why God birthed you, on today. And I'm just blessed and grateful to have, you as a part of my circle and to be even in your space, because I'm trying to tell you, it's representation matters. And you are in so many ways, representation for many of us, and so I love you for that. I thank you for being you. And I just pray God's continual blessings over you. I pray God's continual prosperity over you, and that He will continue to lead you and to guide you in the things that you do, because it matters. What you do really, truly matters.
Lord Jesus. Thank you, sis.
Jessica.
Amen. So I have to second everything Janice said. Again, I'm thankful to have come across your path and getting to know you, and also being able to be with you as you go through several different journeys in your life. I like I said, I second everything Janice says about being an example. I always love how much adoration you give your husband and your family. And I hope to have that one day. So if you can have it, I know I can have it, right? So
That part. That part.
yeah. So, I'm always behind you, whatever you need. Um, I know I'm not always as poignant with the words, but you know, they come from the heart. And I hope that you continue to walk in blessings daily. And that this year, the rest of this year is even better than the beginning half.
Man.
Thank you, my favorite therapist.
Andrea.
Listen, Linda, we here again celebrating Pastor Greer. I am so happy that we got to celebrate you more than one day. And I'm so happy that it's a continual celebration, because that's what your life is for me. It's a continual celebration. You literally dream like Martin. Hey, you lead like Harriet. You fight like
Come
Malcolm.
on.
You write like Maya. And you speak like Frederick. You dare to be different like Shirley. And you think like Garvey. You reclaim your time like Maxine Waters. And you
Come
educate
on.
like
Come on.
W. Du Bois. You challenge us like Rosa Parks. And you inspire us daily like Obama. And you win like Kamala. And you know what's the last thing that I'm gonna, add to it is you doing the Greer gang.
I think there needs to be a
Yes.
dance for that now. I think there needs to be a dance.
Yeah,
Greer gang
hashtag
all
Greer
day
gang.
long. We stand up for the Greers, okay? We love the Greers. We want to represent like all day long GG. You know, that's us. We claim it. But I just want you to know that as we continue to allow this celebration to continue over and over and over and over, it don't stop here. Just be expecting the unexpected. And
Amen.
even in your wildest dreams, you can't dream of what God has next for you.
I
Amen.
receive it. I receive it. Thank you so
All
much.
right, Tevis, it's on you.
Pastor Greer, I don't know you like all the other lovely ladies, but just based off of everything that everybody has said, you seem to have a beautiful soul. A beautiful soul. I love the fact that you have a sense of humor. I think that is amazing. I also value how you hold up your family and your friends and your sisters here on this platform. Continue to let your light shine. I hope that as we continue to grow in these platforms, that we will get a chance to get to know each other better. Um, as soon as I came on, I tuned into your energy. I'm a major empath, but it was something about your energy that stuck out just in this moment on this platform today. And for me, that was good energy. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your voice and being present. And again, continue to let your light shine. Always wear your crown at full stature and be the strong Black woman that you are.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you so
Amen.
much, sis. I very much appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And Daisy, I know you did your video, but do you got anything else you want to add, Daisy?
So I get to talk to you again, Pastor. I get to say some more stuff about you. I just want to shower you with all the love because you deserve it. You've been through so much. You are very transparent with your story, what you've been through, and it's helped. Though I haven't been in that exact place, it's an I admire your strength. I admire your courage to keep going, even after the trial that you've been through with conceiving, um, being married and divorced. You didn't let that stop you. Um, Having baby Lonzo and going through postpartum, you didn't let none of that stop you. You still cried. You still get in front of that camera every when you do the shows again, sis. You know
Mondays.
I'm always talking
Mondays.
about
Whenever the
but
Lord puts me on.
exactly. And you still do in between videos, those little funny videos. You still do those in between. And even when you're going through it, you use that to push you and someone else. You always have a revelation from your trials and tribulations, you know. So I love that and I admire that about you. Keep inspiring, keep pushing, keep thriving. You are full of boldness and you are just the woman that needs to you going to the top. There ain't no other way. You
Amen.
already there. You know, you just
Amen.
need you're already there. Okay. So
Thank
I love
you.
you and
Amen.
happy birthday.
Amen. And Pastor Greer, before we continue on with the 100th episode celebration, I'm going to let you go.
Thank y'all so much. To be honest, my birthday kind of snuck up on me. I didn't realize it was as close as it was. And I was like, wait a minute, my birthday's on Monday because the enemy tried to have me in a dark place. And God had me remember the last 5 years of my life on each birthday, what was
Mm.
happening each birthday. And even though I've been having a hard time the past few months with still coming out of postpartum depression and not feeling like enough, like I'm enough, like I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to have this and have that. Um God has really shifted me. That's why I changed my name on StreamYard to just Pausefunei Soekneiuaha. Not that I'm stepping away from being a pastor, because once you say yes to God, that's your yes. You can't run from it. But what God was teaching me was Pausefunei Soekneiuaha Greer is enough. You don't
Mm.
have to be a pastor for me to use you. You don't have to I'm studying actually to be a real estate agent. I'm actually my father-in-law actually sponsored my education and I don't care how long it takes me. I'm going to do it. There are times where I'm able to study for a couple hours. There are times where I'm able to stay for 20 minutes. I took a little exam today and I got 90%. So, but God is reminding me that I'm enough. Being a wife and a mother, if I do nothing else in this world, I don't want to be a good anything else and be a piss poor wife or mother. That is something that God has really drilled into me. Like, Persephone, I gave you all these gifts and talents, not to overwhelm you, but to overwhelm you in a good way. And to you need to be grounded in being a wife and a mother before I can give you this other stuff, because I don't want you to think that you have to have these things to be these things. I worked really hard to make sure that the second time that I married the right person. I married someone that God approved of. And then becoming a mother was a struggle. And God blessed us through, fertility assistance. So I'm grateful. And I really wanted to make sure that I allowed myself to celebrate my birthday. There were times where I didn't see myself past the age of 18 because of some things I was going through during that time. And I am 37 years old. It feels so good to say that. I don't want to hide my age. I'm celebrating the fact that in 3 years I'll be 40. Like, that is a major accomplishment for me, because there are people that I went to school with that have been dead for years. And the Lord has spared me to be able to live to 37 years old. And over the past 5 years, how God has evolved my life. Every birthday has been different. Last year, I was pregnant with Alonzo, a baby that I didn't even know would ever exist. He already had a name before he even existed. And just to see where God has brought me, I will continue to share and continue to be transparent, because there's nothing that I'm going through that someone else isn't going through, and they need to know that they're not alone. So thank y'all so much for the support and the love that y'all give me. It really, truly means the world to me. I thank y'all so much. And I'm going to continue to turn up, drink my strawberry soda, baby.
Come on. So sis, we just wanted you to know that we definitely appreciate you. And as we continue on celebrating 100th episode of We'll Talk Monday, and all that God is doing for that, we want to first off give a couple of shout outs. First person I want to shout out is Miss Andrea Perry. Miss Andrea Perry, when I first started this show, she was the first one to teach me everything that I needed to know about live stream. She allowed me to use her Zoom with no charge whatsoever. She taught me everything that I needed to know. And she was the original executive producer of Will Talk Monday. And I want to appreciate her and show her some love. And now she has graduated from executive producer of Will Talk Monday to now, when you tune into the Will Talk Monday podcast, you hear her doing words of affirmation. So, I mean, we appreciate her for everything that she has done and all the support that she gives. Next ones is Miss Hope Davidson and Miss Hannah Irby, the original co-hosts of Will Talk Monday. Both of them played a big part in making Will Talk Monday what it was. They played huge parts in it, and I appreciate both of them. God knows that I love both of them. Next one's up is Miss Sable and Miss Kay Brooks. When Hope and Hannah left the show originally, Sable and Kay Brooks stepped in, maybe not on the live stream portion of things, but Say went out and helped me get people to start interviewing so that things could still go on smoothly. Kay would step in on the podcast and help me out on that. So I want to show both of them some love as well. And next up is Miss Janine Lamb. Coach Lamb. Y'all do not know how much she does behind the scenes, not only for the Godly View, not only for We'll Talk Monday, but for Reverend JC3 Ministries, period. She does a lot behind the scenes. She does a whole lot. And the flyer that y'all saw for the 100th episode, that was done by her. The new banner that y'all see for We'll Talk Monday, that was done by her. This one right here has really helped me out a lot when I needed her the most. And I really do appreciate her. Pastor Greer, I've already told you how I felt about you with the theme song. You killed it on that theme song. We really do appreciate you. To our brand ambassadors that rock it out with us behind the scenes, we appreciate them for everything that they have done. And now I get to sour two ladies that deserve all of the praise that they about to get. And we're gonna start it out with Miss Tevis. When I tell y'all she stepped in a mighty way when I needed her the most, she stepped in, and as I'm talking about them, their catch app will be scrolling down there at the bottom. And if you love We'll Talk Monday as much as y'all say y'all do, let's bless their cash apps. And she stepped in a mighty way with no hesitations. She came on the show one time as a guest, as a panel guest, and we started talking behind the scenes about some things. And she's like, James, if you're ever looking for like another co-host, I would love to help you out in any way that I can. God opened up a door, and to God be the glory. She stepped in and has helped make We'll Talk Monday what it is now, and I really do appreciate her. So I'll let her have some words.
James, thank you. I it's so weird for me to say that I'm shy. Certain areas of my life I am very shy, others I am not. This one I have found comfort in talking, especially certain topics. But while I have been venturing out with my own business the last 3 years, I know that I needed to have more of a presence on social media. But I'm like, I talk funny. I don't be wearing makeup. So I always look rough when I be on camera. But you know what? They just gonna get the raw Tevis. Okay. This is me. So this has helped me come out of my shyness when it comes to social media. And for that, I am so thankful for the opportunity to be able to be here with you and Daisha and Daisy. I probably should start calling you Daisy now. And sharing the platform with you guys on Real Talk Monday and the times that I have got to speak with the other ladies, be present with you guys. I've definitely appreciated it. It's just been a great learning experience. I'm having to learn more about things, and I feel like I have a growth mindset. So I'm always reading and trying to educate myself more and more every day. And I'm just thankful. I'm thankful to be here with each of you all, share space with all of you guys. You all are all beautiful women and young men. And I'm just thankful, James. So I appreciate you and Daisy for just allowing me to be here and share my voice. I know I'm not always easy. I may be a little grumpy sometimes, but it's all
But
love. The girl got so much going on over here sometimes. So I hope never take me personal. And if you ever feel like I have made you feel uncomfortable, I just give everybody the power to always tell me that, because my goal is never to hurt, but always to, for my words and my actions, to grace, love, and ministry, grace, um, love and grace for everybody. My words and actions, that's what I want for everybody. So just please share with me at any time, anything. And I'm here to support everybody in any way I can. So thank you.
Amen. And this next one, I mean, what can I say about Daisy? Like, from going from the godly view to telling me when I first told her about the godly view, bro, I don't know, like I'm uncomfortable doing things like that, to killing it in that aspect, to then transferring over and helping me out on Will Talk Monday and killing it in that aspect. And then, like, what I love about both of them is Tevis and Daisy. Not only do they help me out on Will Talk Monday, but they have their own things going on as well. And I'm extremely proud of both of them for that. And she's killing it in what God has called her to do with her YouTube channel and with her ministry on YouTube and with everything that she is doing. So I thank God for her. I thank God for everything that He is doing. You know, I tell people all the time, Will Talk Monday would not be what Will Talk Monday is without these two women that are sitting beside me. First off, it's God, but then it's these two women that's sitting beside me. They push me, they motivate me, they tell me to sit down somewhere when I need to sit down somewhere. They are quick to tell me when we need a break, because they know I am a workaholic and will continue to grind even when I know God is telling me to sit down somewhere. I'm still trying to continue pushing out new ideas, but they are making it to the point to where I'm getting comfortable with letting go and letting God have his way. And I can honestly say that for one of the first times in a long time, I can take off from Will Talk Monday if I have something going on as far as a ministry opportunity. And I can guarantee that Will Talk Monday is still going to flow the same way that it would flow if I was on here. And that says a lot about these two ladies right here. So I love them. And last and certainly not least, I'm going to give Daisy a chance to talk.
James. Well, first of all, Tavis, grouchy wear.
Yeah, Grouchy Will.
I've never witnessed
Yeah,
that from you. So
never.
yeah, yeah, your worst critic right now because I've never. I'm
Good.
like,
That's
wow,
good to know.
I can appreciate that about you because I'm that way. And so, we don't apologize for how you are because you're just a raw, truthful, honest person. You know what I'm saying? So I can respect that about you.
Thank you.
But James, so a lot of ladies already know how James found me. We were in this Facebook Christian group together, and I was one of the admins, and I was trying to hook him up with somebody, right? And so I don't know why from that he came and found me and felt like I needed to be a voice on Godly View. And I was like, no. Every time he would ask me, I would say no. And he's like, well, God said so and so. And he knows he can get me that way with saying God says, because I'm not going to tell God no. I'll tell him or anybody else no in a minute, but I'm not going to tell God no. So I was like, I guess I have to if God said yes. And I believe he was truthfully in the right standing because I went back to God and I prayed. And when I prayed, God was saying, you need to come out of that shell. Now, I am a blunt and honest person and all this other stuff. Believe it or not, I am very shy and reserved. And with that, I may pull back a lot. I just like my space. You know what I'm saying? And so James came and found me in my shy space, minding my business, and just keep pulling me in these different platforms. And I'm like, dude, like, leave me alone. Let me be in my corner. And I say all that to say I'm so honored to have connected with James. I am blessed because God put him in my life to help me come out of that. God can do that on his own, but God used James to pull me out of that shyness, pull me out of being in the comfort zone. And I started off with Godly View. We've been on different other shows together. And I believe because he gave me the opportunity to be on Godly View, it honestly had opened up some other doors for me to be on other platforms that Jane and I was on for other people. And so and now I'm doing Real Talk Monday, and it had built my confidence for when God is telling me now it's time for you to do your own thing. And I'm on YouTube doing God's work on YouTube. I share the videos on my Facebook and stuff like that. But James supported me. Jessica, y'all killing me. Yeah, that's the YouTube that Jessica just plugged. You know, gotta love my sisters. I love y'all. And so he has really been a major part to play in pulling me out of my shell, and the support of all you ladies as well. And just sharing the same space, sharing conversation, growing with you all. I've seen so many growth in every one of you guys and all the shows that we've been a part of, from Pastor Grid, Janine, Andrea, Jessica, Tevis, especially Tevis, because when she first started, I could tell you were a bit shy, but I'm like, we had you on the Godly View, didn't we have you on the Godly View as a guest? Right. And I was like,
Yes.
I like her vibe because you were so transparent and full of knowledge. So when I saw you first on Real Talk, I'm like, no, that she being shy and stuff like that. She was not shy on the Godly View. And who am I to talk, right? Because I tend to, and I'm still coming out of my shyness, believe it or not.
Me too.
I still show up and do these shows. A lot of times I would probably just chill if James don't like Daisy say something or something like that. But I love the accountability. I love it. I love y'all. And thank you, James, a million times for allowing me to be a part of every single one of your ministries you got going on. Every single one. Even from doing voice, not showing my face, doing voice. Sis, do this commercial for me. He's always trying to find a way to pull me from, if I'm too quiet too long, he like, sis, God said, I'm like, girl, sir, go somewhere. But I love you and thank you.
Mike on mute. My bad. Another funny story on Tevis. Sorry, y'all. I was doing the Daisy. I was paying tribute to my sister because every Real Talk Monday episode, she's got a mic on mute at least once. So so another funny story on Tevis. When she first came to Real Talk, when she first came to the Godly View, we had a meeting to talk about getting her on there and like make sure she knew how to log in the StreamYard, all of that. Well, in our meeting, immediately she's like, you know my family. I'm like, I do. And then she starts telling me who her grandfather is, who her father is. I'm like, I've known your family my whole life. Like, what? So it was like I knew Tempest without even knowing her. And it was like from that conversation, we ended up having like a 20-minute conversation just about our family. Simple as that.
Yeah, this is true. I remember James when he was a little boy, back when churches used to visit each other back in the day.
Oh wow!
I remember
No,
him.
don't tell that. Don't tell that.
Okay.
Don't.
We
No,
need to go
don't.
back to visiting churches. I miss them days.
Yeah, that was some
Yeah,
true time. Yeah, those are some good
yeah,
times for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But James, can I
yeah,
say something before we end?
yes,
I
yeah.
just
Go
want to
ahead.
thank God for sending James two people who I love, support, and who bring like real topics, and real, like, y'all actually come together and just really gel. Like when I come on and I'm listening to the topics, I'm like, man, I want to come on there. And I know I be wanting to do everything, but I'm not trying to come on the show, James. That's not what I'm saying. I want to make sure that's what I'm saying. But it be like it be so good. It like it's so engaging. Like Daisy's conversation with James and then Tevis' conversation. Like when I tell you it is a gel like none other. And I just appreciate Tevis, your research and your background, as well as Daisy. Like y'all really come through. And James, y'all be pushing James to do a little bit more. And I be like, y'all better do it. So I be really excited as a viewer and as a watcher and listener only, James, hallelujah. And I just thank God over and over and over and over and over again, because I know it was so many nights, me and James, when he first started, like we were praying for the right people to come on this show. We were praying for the right type of people, the people who are going to be professional, the people who are going to be involved, the people who are going to actually want to do this. So I'm happy and grateful for Tevis so much, for your articulation, for the way that you come across. It is very, 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 very professional and very, very in tune. I am just excited about what God has for you guys as a show. Like, this is just the beginning. I am so excited. And I can't say thank you enough to Daisy for your continued yes. Don't stop saying yes, girl. Don't stop saying yes.
Amen. Amen. So you all, we will be back next week. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. And as I always say, as we close out, sometimes our disappointments are nothing more than God's appointments. Meaning, some things that we look at as bad, God is only turning it around for our good. Stay blessed, be blessed, and be a blessing to someone else. Love y'all. Peace.